Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. One of the things I always enjoy about debating private members' bills is that in the official opposition caucus, these are free votes. So I'm looking forward to hearing my colleagues' point of view on this, because I know in at least one case they don't agree with me. But here we go. In reacting to the ideas that are put forward in Bill 202, sponsored by the member for Airdrie-Chestermere, he's right. We are dealing with public perception of what we do. And he's also right in that the source of our biggest public perception problems these days is us. So when we stand up in this House or in debate and we talk about how others are challenged with veracity and are lying low and are snake oil salesmen and all of the other trivialization that happens when we speak one to each other in this House, when I ask a question, I'm regularly greeted by the front bench members standing up, and first they demean me and then they trivialize the subject that I've raised. It's pretty common stuff. So the biggest creators of this problem is ourselves. But as well, Honourable Member, this is an easy target. And it's a popular one with the public who don't really understand what we do. And it's very easy to find anyone who thinks that a politician is overpaid. But one of the things that isn't well known is that after 40 years of one political party rule in Alberta, there isn't a lot of experience in what happens to people that serve in the opposition benches, and I'm going to spend my time talking about that. Indeed, the Honourable Member and his party has had some small experience in things like trying to get funding for your caucus, and that's more complicated than you anticipated, no doubt. In fact, I bet you were a little surprised to find out you were going to have to fight for funding for your caucus just so you could go to work every day and have enough staff to type up a letter or help you write a question. But that is what happens in this province. We have to deal with it. So I will tell you that the issue of resettlement allowances or transition allowances for MLAs in opposition who lose their seat, resign, or die in public office is a very different experience than, I'm sure, what happens on the government side. For starters, in my experience, and I'll be specific to what I'm aware of, there's no soft landing for someone in the official opposition. I cannot see government ever appointing this gal to an agency, board, or commission that carries a salary with it. Just don't think that's going to happen. Don't think you're going to see me head of the Northern Alberta Development Committee or any of those kinds of things. That just doesn't happen to members of the opposition, but there's lots of examples you can find where previous members on the government side indeed were placed in those positions. I can't see a lobbying firm that's going to be seeking me out to work for them because of the instant access that I have to my former colleagues and buddies in the government cabinet. That's not going to happen for a member of the opposition either. I can tell you that with 3 exceptions, all of my colleagues that I have worked with and who are no longer in the opposition benches for one reason or another, took at least 2 years to find a replacement job that paid a reasonable salary. At least 2 years to find another job with a reasonable salary. Not a big salary, not a wonderful job, just a replacement for what they were earning as an opposition bench MLA. And the 3 exceptions were members I've served with who were teachers who in fact had their full teacher's pension, the small business owners and entrepreneurs who had an entrepreneurial position they could move back into, like real estate, and 3 of my colleagues who went into municipal politics. So 2 years to find another reasonable paying job. So the idea that you're going to get 1 year of a transition allowance, not sure what you're supposed to do for the second year, maybe, no, I won't even go there. The last opposition member on this side who qualified for the pension that the previous Premier stopped in 1993 was Grant Mitchell, now Senator Mitchell, who was elected in 1986 and retired in 98. And he had to totally retrain. So he took his settlement allowance and totally retrained into a different career in order to have a job to continue on with, because he was in his mid-50s when he left the legislature. Now, I believe strongly that the legislature should be a mirror of the public. It should be a mirror of the people that we represent. So I am delighted when I can look around and I can see police officers and people who were nurses or long-term care, geriatric staff, who were farmers and real estate agents and pharmacists and lawyers and a wide range of the public. But I'll tell you, I come from the not-for-profit sector. Not that common coming into politics, I'll give you. But it's very unlikely that when I leave politics or am not re-elected that I'm going to find another job in the sector that I came from. Probably the fault of the not-for-profit sector, who will self-censor and go, we can't possibly hire her because it would jeopardize any grant or contract that we might be getting from the government if we've got her on our payroll. And that may not be true, but they will believe that it will be true. And it may well be true, I don't know. So I'm, as I said, not going to get hired by a lobbyist. I'm not going to get appointed to a job with a salary that's a government appointment. So I'm going to have to go back to school, because the degree that I had is not going to get me another job. And neither will I be able to move into a master's program with any kind of ease. I've already talked to people along the way, and it's been made pretty clear I'm going to have to do at least a year's qualifying before I can get into a master's program. So I'm looking at 3 years of university, not earning any money, but certainly spending it for tuition and for living, in order to be at a point where I will likely get another reasonable job as a member of the official opposition. I'm not complaining. To be perfectly honest, the settlement amount that is offered now is a heck of a lot better than was offered when I was first elected. And I came in knowing that. So this is a much better deal. But the idea that is proposed by the member putting forward Bill 202, I don't think quite understands how difficult it can be to be a member of an opposition in a place with a government that's been in place for 40 years. Well, times are volatile. Things could change. Things could change in the next election. In fact, I'm sure that members from the party that the member represents is counting on the fact that his folks are going to be sitting on the other side next time. Fair enough. But does that mean that there will still be an understanding? Because when you travel and talk to other politicians, governments change. People end up on both sides of the aisles. They have a good idea of what it's like to be in opposition and be in government. If you've been around for 10 or 15 years, you very likely would have served on both sides of the House. So there's a much clearer understanding of the limitations that exist on both sides. So the other small thing that I'm always aware of is that the resettlement is based on the best 3 years of earning. Now, here, government members consistently earn more than opposition members because they are paid, for example, for sitting on cabinet policy committees or chair of various things like the Seniors Advisory Council. So even though I may have been considered a private member right along with one of the government backbenchers, they will consistently have out-earned me or been paid more than I have been paid. And that, of course, is included in the calculation when you look at the resettlement allowance. Because if they consistently made that $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a year more than any member in the opposition, when you base the resettlement on it, they're going to be getting more resettlement allowance based on that as well. So there is a real inequity here and a misunderstanding about that, and I appreciate the opportunity to put it on the record. I bet most people are not aware of it, and I will soon be celebrating my 14th anniversary as an elected member in this House, moving into my 15th year, so I'm able to bring you a bit of a historical vignette, if you will. But thank you for the opportunity to put that information on the record. I do think we need to do something, but it's about an independent commission.